Okay, welcome back, everybody. Now, we are just going to try to finish up our coffee cafe. If we go ahead and take a look, we might be able to finish up today's completely the rest of the week. Now, with that being said, I will be introducing you to another document that we need to have. So I'll wait till we get to the break, okay? So I don't rush you now to go look for it. But we will be looking at our first trial balance, okay? So we're moving along pretty quickly. This is expected that the first week should be done in a couple days, okay? And then we're gonna move on to week 2, which it's gonna be a little more exciting. It's gonna be a little more lengthy, but yes. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So this is where we left off yesterday. Okay, so we left off making a payment to the electricity company. So it says here the electricity was connected. $100 deposit is required. Payment to NV Utilities. Okay, so here we're making a deposit for the electricity bill. Okay, so let's see. Let me see. Okay, I guess we might be able to squeeze it in on our last page, on the first page. Do you guys have room on yours? Okay. Well, in this case with Excel, of course, we have the magic capability to add an extra line if you need to. But in this case, since I already know what my journal is going to look like, I only need 3 lines, and I fitted mine perfectly. So, with that being said, this was on June 6th. Okay. So we know that we need a deposit and we're going to write a check because most companies like these, they require, you to pay the bill either by paper, by mail, or by online. And in this case, our company for the NV utilities, they require you to pay by paper or it's a bill. Okay. So I'm going to send a check out. Okay. Now, deposits. Do I have a deposits in my chart of accounts?
You just asked it. Lingo. Oh, there, 18,700?
18,700 is my deposits. Good. Okay, so I think you're 2 seconds behind, which is fine. Okay, so we do have deposits, all right, and we're gonna write a check. So in this case, deposit is going to be what I'm gonna journalize first because technically this deposit is considered an asset because we own a portion of our electricity. Okay, and in this case, we are writing a check. Okay, so 18,700 and 10,100. Okay. And we wrote the check out for $100. Okay. And I'm gonna, okay, so what's the first thing I have to do before I can complete everything?
Well, when you write a check, put on your register or whatever.
Correct. So you're gonna pull up your check register, all right? You're gonna acknowledge that on June 6th, you wrote a check out for $100. Who did you write it out to?
Nevada utility.
Yes, NV Utilities. Utilities. There you go. Okay, NV Utilities. Okay, now that I know that I wrote the checkout for 1504, I can go ahead and complete my journal entry. And I'm going to go ahead and indicate my vendor, NV Utilities, comma, I wrote a check number, 1504, comma, and if I want to write something specific, I'm going to go ahead and write electricity. Okay. And now that I am done with my first journal, I can go ahead and start my second page in my journal. Okay. Now it says here that I need to post it where? I have to post it to my subsidiary ledger, right? Because I'm dealing with a vendor. What if the vendor doesn't grant me my electricity? Okay. Right? It says to post to the subsidiary, but we want to go in order. Right? So if you notice, we've been going in some kind of order. We posted to the journal, right? Let's post to the ledger first before we dive into the subsidiary ledger. Okay? So now, again, I'm going to go to my ledger with all of my accounts. And here, I'm only dealing with assets. So, okay. So here, I'm already at my miscellaneous expense. So I need to go up to deposits, which should be on page 16. And I'm going to go ahead and indicate the date. And I'm going to go ahead and write here, electricity deposit. Okay. General Journal 1 for $100. And now I need to complete my formula because now I need to add this $100 to my normal balance. So I'm going to go up one, which is the balance that you currently have. I'm going to add my debits in this row, and I'm going to subtract any credits in this same exact row to give me a new balance of $1,600. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and scroll all the way up to our checking account, or also page 1. And I'm going to go ahead and indicate that I made a payment of $100 on June 6th. So check number 1504. General Journal 1. And this time I credit my account for $100. So that should give me now $11,461.29. Okay. All right, everyone following along? Okay. Now, once we've completed the journal, that's when we can go at the ledger. That's where we could go ahead and do anything else, right? Now we could go to our subsidiary ledger. Okay. Now I have a question for you. Do you guys think it's very necessary to have a subsidiary ledger?
Yes,
Okay, why do you think so, Tennyson?
because in the ledger we enter just the whatever the title only.
Uh-huh.
So here it gives the full details of all the things in the subsidiary.
Perfect. Yes, this is because we're dealing with our vendors, right? It gives us more leeway to keep track of what we owe and who owes us, right? Now, is it 100% necessary to have a subsidiary ledger? Again, it's good business practice. It's not necessary, but I mean, it would make sense to know who owes you money and who you owe as well. Instead of receiving unexpected bill, right? At least this is a proper way to keep track of your transactions. And what if your vendor decides to charge you extra money? At least you have a point of reference on the purchase order that you made, or et cetera, right? So it is a good business practice to keep track of your vendors as well as your customers, plus your employees, right? Um, but is it necessary to do? In this case, you don't have to, but I'm showing you this is because hey, I want to know where my money's going, and I want to know where I can get the rest of my money. Okay? I want to know who owes me this money, because at the end of the day, when you write off your bad debt expense, you need to know who owes you that money, and you need to also, or sorry, not write off bad debt expense, but when someone owes you the money and they tell you that they can't pay you back, you need to know who, you need to know how much, and you need to be able to pull up that file somewhere. Okay, so here, NV Utilities, I have my notes here. So I'm going to go ahead and write my notes is electricity. And I know that it's check, I wrote it for check number 1504, electricity. Okay. Invoice number. Did I receive an invoice number from NV Utilities? I believe I did not. Okay, so I don't have an invoice number. Post reference is going to be my general journal number 1. Okay, of course, this vendor did not give me terms because this is utilities. There's no terms involved, or there's no due date, discount periods, or due dates. So in this case, I'm going to ignore all of that. Is there an advance payment? No, of course, you did not pay in advance for the item that you purchased it or for the payment of the deposit of utilities. So your invoice amount is going to be for the $100. Okay. All right. And did we make any returns and allowances? Not yet. Okay. I hit the wrong formatting button. There you go. No, we did not have any returns and allowances, but if you were to do, good luck trying to get your $100 back from your landlord for the utilities. Um, is there any discounts? No, not yet. And did you make a payment? Yes, you did. Okay. So the formula here, it says you're going to take your total amount that was on your bill, which is your invoice amount, right? Anything that affects it would be your prepaid accounts, right? You're going to subtract any returns or any allowances. You're going to subtract any discounts. And lastly, you're going to subtract any payments. So in this case, I owe NV Utility $0 because I owed $100, but I paid it immediately with check number 1504. Okay, so now that that transaction was completed, what happened next?
be included with 1 month bill.
Okay.
Natural gas is connected, 100 deposits required.
Where does it say that a 100
Deposits required.
that's for natural
Oh,
gas.
yeah, that's gas.
This is telephone. Okay, so the telephone service is connected, right? And it says installation fees are to be included with the first month's bill.
There's nothing to journalize.
Nothing to journalize because we haven't won. We just opened up the account. We don't have any bill occurring just yet. It's going to start happening that day that we opened up our account. So in this case, they said that right here, the installation fees are to be included with the first month's bill. We're still on month 0 right now, so we haven't even occurred or incurred the first month yet, right? So in this case, there's no dollar amount, there's no bill that I received. So in this case, yes, you ignore this transaction, but it's also good that you need to know that that you connected the telephone, right? And you should be expecting a bill soon, okay? What happened next?
Natural gas connected, $100 deposit required.
Mm-hmm. Good. And it's payable to NV Utilities. So, I don't know if this applies to you guys, but in this case, gas and electricity are paid separately. They're still to the same company, but they're two separate bills. Okay? So, in this case, I need to make another deposit for NV Utilities for natural gas. So, in this case, we know exactly what deposits were, right? Deposits were 18,700, and I am going to write another check for 1505, but this time not for electricity, it's for gas. So, how do I journalize this?
Deposit.
Mm-hmm. I got deposits, and I'm taking this away from my checking account.
Same thing as on the previous one.
Yes, same exact thing as the previous one. So 18,700, and my checking account should be 18,100. All right, and I paid out $100. Okay. All right. First things first is I have to write out my check and make sure I send it out. So I'm using my check register for June 6th. I wrote out $100 check, and again, this time it's also to NV Utilities. Okay. I'm going to go back to my journal to complete it up because I'm going to have a description so that I know what this transaction and how did this transaction happen. So NV Utilities, okay, check number 1505, comma, natural gas. Okay. Just so that I could tell the difference between the two different deposits. I indicated, right? I threw it in there that one's for electricity and one's for natural gas. Okay. Now we're going to post it to the ledger. So again, we're going to be dealing with the same exact accounts. Okay. So deposits should be towards the end of the workbook, right? Or towards the end of the worksheet. For the word, it should be page 16, right? So June 6th, right? I'm going to write here natural gas deposit. General Journal 2, because we're on the second page now, for $100. So therefore, because I placed my formula in there and I auto-filled my cells, so therefore it should copy the formula, taking the one above it, adding your debits and subtracting my credits. So in this case, it automatically calculated up to me that I currently have now $1,700 in my balance. Okay. All right, now that I finished my my deposits account, I'm going to scroll all the way back up to the top. All right, so page 1, put my date in, update that I wrote check number 1505 this time. My general journal number 2. And this time I also credited another $100, which should drop my account to be now $11,361.29. Okay. So this is where the point in time where you should go ahead and hit that save button. Okay. All right. Now that we updated the ledger, and we updated the journal, we updated the ledger. Now what? We have to go to the subsidiary. That's correct. So here, since I dealt with this same exact vendor previously, here it is. It should be here. So again, I'm going to be entering what happened on the 6th. All right. Here, I'm going to write natural gas. Check number 1505. Right? I didn't have an invoice number. General Journal 2, same thing's going to occur. We didn't have terms, so we can ignore the next 3 boxes. All right? We can ignore a prepaid amount because we didn't give an advance payment. Here, I know that my bill was for $100. And here, I know that my check was for $100. Now here, since I already built my formula in here, I'm going to go ahead and autofill it to let me know that I, again, do not owe NV Utilities at all until I receive the bill. And if I choose to pay it now, then I make my payment. But if I choose to hold off on it, because usually when you get a bill, you don't need to pay right away. They usually give you either a month to pay it back, or they give you the week, or if it's due on the 1st of every month, then you shall do so. Okay? So now that my subsidiary ledger is complete, what has happened next?
This was coffee brewer
Okay?
and grinder from Haley Brothers,
Yes.
and it requires a down payment.
Okay.
1/3%, one third down payment.
Okay, so yes, so let's look at this scenario. So I got one commercial coffee brewer for $2,266. Then I have my commercial coffee grinder for $1,249.95. So my total estimated bill is going to cost me $3,515.95. Okay, so went ahead and made a down payment of $1,140.22 down payment. So by me making a down payment, I'm gonna incur a prepaid payment, right? My down payment is going to be considered as an advanced payment. So let's go ahead and journalize this transaction. Okay? We have seen a prepaid account before.
$18,600.
18,600. Good. So in this case, like I said, I've already made a little note for you guys that I'm making a down payment. Okay, so that means I'm going to create a prepaid account. So because I'm paying into my prepayment, it's going to be considered a part asset to me because it's a deposit. Essentially, it's a deposit. So in this case, I'm going to journalize as shown in the page that I'm going to debit my prepaid accounts. Which was 18,600. Okay? And I know that I wrote a check to make my down payment. All right. Checking was 1011. And what was my total amount for my check?
1140.22.
Uh-huh. So therefore, my check amount should be the exact same, 1140. Okay. So before I do anything else, I need to go to my check register. Here I recognize I am utilizing check number 1506 for June 6. Okay, I wrote a check for 1140.22. And who did I make this check out to? Is it Haley Bros? Okay, Haley Bros, yes. Okay. Boom. All right, now that I wrote my check out, I can now go ahead and go back to my journal and fill in my description. Right? So in this case, my description could be pretty much anything I want to place it in here. So in this case, I'm going to write that who my vendor was, which is Haley Rose. Okay? And I actually have a purchase order number. And that is 170303 is going to be my purchase order number. Okay? Comma. Right? And I wrote a check for check number 1506, which was, if I wanted to be more descriptive, should have been 1/3 down payment. Okay. All right. before moving on to anything, we've written our check, correct? But because we made a purchase order, we should also fill that information as well because we made a purchase order. So in this case, we know that the purchase order was in fact the correct number, which is the 170,303. Right? So 66. Okay. Who was our vendor? It was Haley Bros. All right. What should we be expecting from them? Brewer. Slash grinder. All right. And how much was my estimated bill for?
85, 15.95.
Okay, so good. So at least we can say, hey, we're expecting, right, we submitted a purchase order. We should be expecting a brewer and a grinder to arrive to my store. All right? So that is that right there. All right? Now going back to my journal. Now we completed every single transaction here. So now we go to our subsidiary, our general ledger. Because now we got to update each account that we've actually written out. So in this case, we are sticking within our assets. Okay. So we're going to go all the way down to prepaid accounts, which should be at the very bottom of your work sheet. This should be on page 16 as well. Okay, so my prepaid accounts. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to write a down payment. Down payment. I don't know, to Haley Bros. Okay. General journal number 2. And because I increased my accounts, prepaid accounts by 11.4022 cents. So therefore, if I pull down my formula or copy it down using my autofill tool, it should automatically raise my deposits to be a total of $7,794.39. Okay. Right. Now I'm going to scroll all the way up to my checking. Still on page 1. Now we're going to fill in that I made a payment using check number 1506 for, right, a credit of 11.4022, which should decrease my money in my bank to now $10,221.07. Okay. So now I'm going to go to my subsidiary ledger. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and find Haley Rose. There you go, Haley Bros. 6 6. And I'm going to make sure I write here 1/3 down payment on brewer / grinder. Okay. Did I have an invoice amount, invoice number? Not yet, but what you can do is you can actually go ahead and put in your PO number because you made a down payment on it. So PO 1407303 is going to be your invoice number, your purchase order number right there. Okay, post reference is going to be my general journal number 2. Okay. Now, of course, we never received the bill, so we don't have terms, a discount date, or a due date yet, so we could skip that. Now, here's the question. Are we going to place it in our prepaid accounts?
Yeah, because we put that as a down payment.
Correct. And we never received a invoice amount either. But however, what we learned here is that that the prepaid amount should actually reduce your total invoice amount. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to indicate that I have 1140.22 in my prepaid accounts. Oh, I also forgot to enter here that I wrote a check for 1506. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and expand that out a bit. All right, so yes, I have a prepaid amount. Okay, but the thing is, I don't have an invoice amount yet. And did I make a payment? Yes, I did. So in this case, you actually are going to place this in the invoice amount because you actually made a payment already to it. All right? You actually made a payment of $11.40.22. Okay? So that's going to be your actual invoice amount because again, you're actually paying this amount off. So my payment is going to reflect this. So therefore my formula is actually going to be my invoice amount, subtract my prepayment, subtract my returns and allowances, subtract my discount, subtract my payment. So here I still owe Haley Bros nothing. In fact, I actually paid in advance for this. So it's up to you what you want to do. You can leave it in the prepaid amounts, but what happens is when we receive the bill, I'll show you exactly what happens when you actually do receive the bill. Okay, because it's going to be for the less amount. And that's where we're going to acknowledge that we did have a prepayment. We're going to bill it for the full amount, but we're going to acknowledge that we have a prepayment. Okay? So we'll see what happens when we receive the bill, okay? So in this case, I paid for the amount that I prepaid for, okay? Okay. All right. Now that transaction has been completed. We post it to our subsidiary ledger. So what is next?
Purchase some supplies for the
Mm-hmm.
We purchased a cash register.
Good.
That's the only one that was purchased.
Mm-hmm.
And we,
So, what happened here?
we pay, it's not, with that account number, with the credit card, I do not know how that was paid. It was not cash or check.
What's the key word here?
On
Account.
account,
On account.
We paid on an account. So, what does that mean?
accounts payable,
Accounts payable. We paid it. We owe this person money. Okay? And if you read carefully right there where it says on account, that means you financed it for a 12-month with zero APR, meaning you have 12 months to pay this entire cash register off. Okay? So, when you first buy something, do you get the bill right away?
No,
No. When do you get the bill?
at the end of the month
At the following month.
or the following.
So in this case, right, we are creating an accounts payable, right? The information is that we were able to get it on an account. So we did open up an account or got a credit card. Same thing, right? You have an account with them, they give you a card, right? With your account number on it. So here, Restaurant Supplies decided to give us a nice little financing option. And you know what we did? We took it. So, what is going to be my what's my journal going to look like? So I actually got a cash register. So let's go use our chart of accounts. Do we actually have a cash register asset in our chart of accounts?
Yes.
Yes, we do.
14050.
14050. So because I'm increasing my assets, right? Because I just bought one, it's going to be on the debit side. And because I'm also increasing a liability, I need to increase my accounts payable with a credit. So let's go ahead and journalize this. So I have a cash register. All right. And this time I am putting it on accounts payable. All right. And my cash register was 14050. And my accounts payable. What is my accounts payable account?
20,000.
20,000. So my accounts payable is going to be for 20,000. All right. And how much do I owe for this cash register? 649.49, right? You need to include the tax because what kind of asset is this?
Fixed.
It's a fixed asset. That's correct. We just bought a fixed asset. So that means now that we know that we have a fixed asset, we're going to depreciate it later on. So we need to include all the costs it takes to get my cash register to the store. In this case, cash registers are pretty self-explanatory. All you really need to do is to prep it, is to plug into a wall. Not a big deal. So in this case, all we need to really care about is anything that happened. So we actually bought this from the store. We went to the physical store and we made the purchase. So that is exactly why we got charged sales tax for this item. So we need to include it as part of our total cost of the asset. Okay. So my total cost of the asset is going to be the 500. Oh, it's supposed to be 600. $649.49. 649.49. Okay. Okay. Now that I have this, I'm going to also indicate here who my vendor was, which was Restaurant Supplies. Right? And because I have an account number with them and I made an accounts payable with them, go ahead and add that piece of information because it's going to be relevant to you in the future. So in this case, my account number was 5698. Okay? Right? Now we go to our ledger. So we just accumulated another asset. Okay? Or acquired, not accumulated, I'm sorry. We just acquired another asset. So in this case, I believe I put it under office equipment. So here you go. Here's my cash register. Right? On the word worksheet, so here this is cash in the register. I'm looking for just the cash register. There you go. So here's the cash register. It is going to be on page 13 in your ledger. Okay. In my book, in my Excel, you're just going to have to scroll down and find it, or you could do your, if you know how to look up stuff in there, go ahead and do that. So my cash register. So I'm still on the 6th of June. All right. Now this is where I can go ahead and either fill in all as much information in here, or I can wait till I get to my subsidiary ledger to be able to do that. Okay, so in this case, I'm just going to say nothing because it's already assumed. I bought a cash register. Right? Post reference is going to be General Journal number 2. All right. And I increased my assets by $649.49, which should give me a debit balance of $649.49. Okay. So boom, there you go. Now I'm diving into my accounts payable. So what type of account is accounts payable?
Liability.
It's a liability. So it should be the very, 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 very top of the page here. And for this, it should be, oh, I went too far. This one for accounts payable, it should be on page right here. It is on page 17. Okay. So here, I'm going to go back to my ledger. So accounts payable, right? I'm going to make sure I indicate the date. Do you need to be specific in your accounts payable? Not really. You can if you like. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to write in purchased cash register. Okay. Post reference general journal number 2. And because I owe them, right, I have to be very careful. How did I post it in my journal is what you're going to post it into your ledger. So in this case, I owe $649.49, giving me a credit balance of $649.49. Okay. So now that I completed my journal and my ledger, I'm going to go straight to my subsidiary ledger now. Okay. I'm dealing again with a vendor, so I need to go ahead and look up where I put restaurant supplies. Okay, here's Restaurant Supplies Inc. So on June 6th. So this is where I can actually place in all of my information. So in this case, I know that I have an account number, right? And it was 569812. 569812. And this is where I could also say that I bought a cash register. And then I could also type in that this person gave me 12 months, 0% APR. Okay, so that means I have 12 months to pay it off with them not charging me interest, but any time I pay after the 12 months, that's when I start accumulating the APR. Okay. And usually your bill should tell you that, or it's kind of in their description, or when you sign up for it, you should have that fine print of what happens if you pay after this 12 months. But in this case, I'm just only going to recognize that it's only $649, and they're giving me 12 months to pay that. I can easily pay that whether I pay $50 a month or I pay them $100 a month, right? It's doable. I'm not going to include the information that can happen after the 12 months unless I'm coming up to that point. Okay? Do I have an invoice number? Okay. Did my receipt include a receipt number or an invoice number?
Yes.
Yes. 0014 487. So in case something happens with my if something happens with my cash register, right? I have proof of purchase, right? It's 864 8612?
1487.
1487 is going to be my receipt number, right? So all right, post reference again is my general journal number 2. This time I do not get terms. I do not get a discount date, and my due date, I'm just going to assume I haven't received my bill yet, so I don't know when my due date is for every single month. So in this case, I'm going to leave these blank until I actually receive the bill next month and then determine what my actual due date is for every single month. Since I financed it for 12 months, 0 APR, right? They're just going to calculate the total amount divided by 12, and they're going to let me know how much I actually truly owe every single month. Okay? So in this case, I'm going to ignore those 3 boxes. Of course, I paid this in store, so I didn't make any advance payments. My total invoice amount was for the wrong box, $649.49. Okay? Did I have return returns and allowances, discounts? No. And did I pay it yet? No. So here in my accounts payable account, so if I apply the formula again, so it's going to be your invoice amount, subtract any prepaid, subtract any returns or allowances and discounts, and subtracting any payments, I get that I owe restaurant supplies $649.49 in my accounts payable. Right? And that is exactly how you actually fill this out. Now watch when we actually start getting our terms and start getting discount dates and due dates in general, and then the amount that we owe. So in this case, we're filling in that we made a purchase for the $649, and every monthly payment, right, I will indicate it in my payment, and we can watch my accounts payable decrease slowly. Okay?
Question.
Yes.
Yeah, on the terms,
Mm-hmm.
is that equivalent to the 12-month agreement that's indicated in there?
I'm sorry, say that again?
The terms there, isn't it supposed to be the 12 months? It's like an installment 12 months.
I mean, because terms means you get a discount if you pay within X amount of time, right? In this case, my 0 APR for 12 months, that's not technically a discount.
I understand. What I'm saying isn't it the term the 12 months then?
12 months, 0 APR, but that's the thing. Okay, I see what you mean. So I guess you can put in net 30, saying every month you owe it, or net whatever a year is. But in this case, we made a payment plan. We're building a payment plan. There is no discount that I'm receiving. I understand that I have to pay everything in full, but when we receive our bill, that's when we'll get our terms, okay? For example, let's say I do receive this bill, right? What I'm going to record is, hey, you have 30 days to pay it in full. Then I go ahead and put in my terms net 30. And then here I determine, well, when is my bill actually due? So in this case, you only apply the terms when you receive your actual physical bill. In this case, I'm only recording my receipt that I received from the store, acknowledging that I do have this on an account and I should be expecting a bill. And we'll see that when we receive our first bill. In this case, the terms are not going to apply until you receive a bill because you don't know what the terms are, right? And oftentimes, terms doesn't need to include the discount, right? You could do net 30, but I need to receive the bill in order to determine what my bill due date is, okay? So when I receive my bill, right, for my financing, for my financing, it's going to give me a total amount that I owe. And if I choose to pay it off, then I choose to pay it off. It's also going to give me when it's due, which then there's your terms right there. Okay? But in this case, we don't know. We haven't received the bill yet, so we don't have that information to plug in. Yes, we signed up for the 12 months, but well, what happens if I pay before the 12 months? What happens if I pay after the 12 months? So for terms here, you cannot determine it until you physically receive the bill in the mail or wherever you collect the bill from. Okay? All right? Because again, the 12 months APR could actually change because this is a whole year they're giving us to pay, right? But the idea is you're not paying it in 12 months. You're paying it every 12 months. Or you're paying it every month until it's done. All right? Okay. So now that we've finished posting it to our subsidiary ledger, what has happened next? Oh, we reached the end of our day. Okay. Let's first check our deposits. Did we make any cash receipts that we've collected, or not cash receipts, any receipts that we've collected? Yeah, all of these that we've incurred were either purchase of assets or expenses. So no, we didn't collect any cash along the way. So in that case, I am good to go. Okay. So back to my general ledger. Now I am on June 7. All right, let me see, what time is it? Okay, it's only been an hour. Okay. So what happened on June 7th? What happened on June 7th?
The company hired a remodeling company to remodel the area, the store.
Okay.
And we were referred by recommendation with a bill of
This is a separate transaction.
Oh, yes.
Okay. So we hired LV Remodeling Company to remodel our store. Do we need to record this?
No.
No. We just hired them. We don't know how much we hired them for because I'm pretty sure they're going to charge us based on a rate. We just hired them. They haven't got the job done, so we don't know. They haven't sent us a bill yet. Okay. Now what happened next?
We received a bill
We received our first bill.
of 1,000 during payment today.
Okay.
That invoice is been received.
All right. So we received our first bill. So this is actually where the columns are going to start looking familiar when we start actually using them. So let's go ahead and just record the transaction at hand. We owe Miss Kim Robinson $1,000. And we know that it's due in 3 days. Okay? So I'm going to treat this consultation as if this was a business expense, right? We don't really care for the specifics for it because we just got a consultation on the idea of how the interior design should look like. So we just got consulted, and this is their bill payment. And I'm going to treat it as if it's a business expense. Okay? So let's go ahead and check out our chart of accounts to see if we have a an account called business expense.
Yeah.
All right, what number is that?
60, 200.
6,200 for business expense. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my journal, right? Because I've incurred an expense, right? It's going to be debited. Right? And you would say 6,200. And how much was the consultation amount for?
$1,000.
It was for $1,000. Okay. Now here, did we choose to pay it now or are we choosing to pay it later?
Accounts payable.
We're choosing to pay it later. So we are going to place this on an account because we're gonna owe this. We're gonna owe Kim Robinson money. We're not paying them now. We're paying them later. So accounts payable. Okay, which we should know is going to be account to 20,000. All right. So with that piece of information that we're given here, we can go ahead and safely assume that Kim Robinson, right, is our vendor. And you can place in why is you getting a bill for this. And you could say, well, it's for consultation fees. And again, what was the invoice number? This was invoice number 1542. And your journal is complete. Wait, I still forgot to put in my credit for the $1,000. Okay. So now we're going to go to our ledger and we're going to post all this information in here. So again, I'm going to go to my business expense account, which is going to be in your expenses. Okay, so this is going to be on page So your expenses is going to be starting on page 30, business expense. Okay, hold on. Page 30 is your cost of goods sold. So your operating expenses is going to be on page 34. Okay, right here. Business expenses is going to be on page 34. So now that we're here on our expenses, right here, business expense, I'm going to indicate that this happened on June 7th, right? And I'm going to also indicate here that what this expense was for. So in this case, this was consultation fees. Okay, from Kim Robinson. Okay. And then my post reference is going to be my general journal number 2. Was it a debit to my account? Yes, it was. So therefore, I should have a debit balance of $1,000. And then second account I have to do is going to be my liability. I have to go to my liabilities. So again, that's page 17 in the Word file. I'm going to indicate here in my accounts payable that I had a consultation fee. So there you go. I'm just going to write Kim Robinson consult fees. Okay. General journal number 2. And this time I'm increasing my credit by $1,000. Okay. With that being said, therefore, I need to stick in a new formula in my accounts payable account. All right? And this time, this formula is going to be a little different. This time, I'm going to be in my normal credit side. I'm going to go to equal, right, to start my formula. I'm going to click the cell right above it. That's taking my previous balance, and I'm going to add my credits, and I'm going to subtract any debits. So in this case, you're going to add left 2, and you're going to subtract left 3. Okay, so again, I'm going to go back. I'm going to pick up the number from previous. I'm going to add any credits, and I'm going to subtract any debits. So in this case, I should get a grand total of $1649.49. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to autofill that formula all the way down. Okay, maybe that's too far down, right? So that means every time I add something in, whether it's a debit or a credit, so if I were to add 500, boom, it's subtracted immediately. If I were to have a credit of 600, it would add it in, okay? So that is my formula there. So I erased it and got rid of it. So in this case, I currently owe in my accounts payable is going to be $49.49, right? And then lastly, we're going to go ahead and dive into my subsidiary ledger. And I'm going to go ahead and find Miss Robinson Kim. So in this case, because it's an individual person and it's still a vendor, it's going to be located by last name. So R is what we're looking for. Here you go, Robinson Kim. All right, for June 7. Okay, so this is where we're going to apply our terms and everything. Okay, notes. Is there any notes that you want to place in there? Yes, we could just say it's a consultation fee. Okay. Invoice number, which we do have, it was 1542. Okay. Post reference is going to be general journal number 2. Okay. Now, this is where we can apply terms, okay? And in this case, when is the bill due? It's due in 3 days. Okay, so June 10. So this is we've already calculated when the due date is. In this case, we were not given any we weren't given any discount. So my terms here is going to be that I have to pay in full Okay, I can't find my N. All right. So you're going to write here net 3 because that is when the bill is due. It's due in 3 days, right? No discount because this person didn't give us anything. However, now we can fill in the due date. So now we know that it's going to be due on June 10, right? We don't count the day that we're on, we count moving forward. So we received the bill on the 7th, it's due in 3 days, so 8, 9, and 10. 3 days, so that means it's going to be due on June 10th. So here you go. I'm filling in the information as I go. Right? My terms is net 3 because I have to pay in full in 3 days. That's how we understand terms, right? If not, you have to pay the full thing in 30 days. In this case, we need to pay the full thing in 3. Okay? So do we have a prepaid account for this? No, we didn't. But we do have the full invoice amount, which is going to be for the $1,000. Okay? And also, we know, okay, we didn't have any returns or allowances or discounts, and we obviously did not pay yet. So, if I were to apply my formula, it's going to be whatever my invoice amount is. Good. So now I owe $1,000. Okay. So here, this is me utilizing the extra windows because what did we do? We received the bill. The bill will tell us exactly when the due date is and if they give us terms like a discount period, right? And if we meet the discount period, then we can apply the discount in the discount column. But in this case, we received the bill and they expect us to pay us the full thing in 3 days. Okay? So there is that. All right. So I think I'm going to stop here real quick so we can go ahead and take our quick little break. It is now 9:55, so I'll give you 20 minutes. So since I'll call it at 10, supposedly. So please be back no later than 10:15.